My name is Evan Woodbery. I'm a sports writer for the Knoxville News Sentinel. I cover UT football. Came here last August, so I've been here a little more than a year. Before that, I covered Auburn. This is actually my fourth SEC school that I've covered professionally. Auburn, Alabama, South Carolina, and now here. And grew up in the Cleveland, Ohio area and moved south and have been here ever since. You know, I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to be a reporter, even since I was a little kid. I delivered the newspaper in my hometown, and I made newsletters or newspapers that I sent to relatives. I always wanted to be a reporter. It's the only thing I remember wanting to do. Didn't know I was getting up in sports, but in college, the opportunity arose, and I made some good contacts with other sports writers, and found that I really enjoyed it, really liked it, thought I was pretty good at it, and just kind of stuck with it from there. You know, I think when I covered Auburn for 7 or 8 years, and broke some important stories there, and covered that program during a very interesting period where my first year on the beat there in 2004 was an undefeated season. My second to last year there in 2010 was a national championship season, and in between all that, a lot of interesting stuff happened. That was, I think, was meaningful to get to cover some really big and interesting stories and make an impact on that beat. But there are also stories that aren't necessarily hard news or breaking news stories that the features that you get to tell a story that no one else has told, or to really give an opportunity to tell someone's story who's really cool or got a really amazing story to tell, or got a really fascinating background or life story. I think those are probably the ones that you remember also that are meaningful as well. I think now there are probably a lot of similarities, just because the access has been restricted pretty much by and large throughout the SEC and really all major sports programs. Tennessee is probably a little bit better from an access standpoint than Auburn was or is. And a lot of that has to do with the changeover in coaching staff. Butch Jones is probably the most accessible coach I've covered since I've been in the business. There are still some restrictions on players, but they're probably not as dramatic as at other places, and not as restrictive as at Auburn, for instance, or Alabama would be another example. So, but I think the basics of the job don't really change that much. It's it's the SEC beat. It's competitive anywhere you go, and the logistics of it are pretty similar wherever you go. Well, I think they're probably some of the best and worst things are probably the same in some ways, in that I like the part I like about it is that it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a job where you just come in the office and sit there from 9 to 5. It's you're out in the field. You're working from different places. It's a little bit unstructured. It's a little bit freewheeling each day. The bad side of that is that it's tougher to predict. It's tougher to leave your work behind. You're kind of on the job 24/7. You can't just clock out and forget about it. You're always checking your phone or checking Twitter or what have you. And that's probably the toughest part, is to try to make sure you have some sort of work-life balance and you can leave it behind, because it's very tough to do so, because the news doesn't happen on a given schedule. It happens at any time, and often when it's least convenient to do so. Probably my best memory would be the national championship game in 2010, Auburn against Oregon in Arizona. It wasn't necessarily the best game, although it was a great game. But just the whole week leading up to it was really cool. It was a great bowl environment. The Fiesta Bowl ran the national championship that year and did a nice job. Had a great hotel, just great week of events. It was just a lot of fun, and it was neat to cover a national profile game. But I think those are probably among them. The better bowl trips have always been fun. Cotton Bowl is a great trip. Done that a couple times. But the national championship game probably stands out. It's tough because the industry is very unpredictable. But For me, as long as I've got a job that gives me the resources to do the job well, and gives me something that I'm challenged and enjoy covering, then I'm happy. And this job certainly fits that bill.